I bid you welcome to Montober. Today, I'm here to talk about the horror of Dracula 1958 by Hammer Films, starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Takes a little bit of a different spin on the Dracula story. In a lot of ways, still the same basic story as in the you see in the Bela Lugosi one, but a lot of different broad strokes. Renfield's not in it. They in the beginning it's Jonathan Harker going to Dracula's estate, and he knows Dracula's a vampire already. Him and Van Helsing are already after Dracula. And this should be noted is one of Hammer's first color movies, color horror movies, and it wastes no time showing blood. Like in the opening credits, you see someone bleeding on Dracula's casket. Who's bleeding and why? The details aren't given. It's colored blood, and that's why it's there. Now, Jonathan Harker spends some time in Dracula's mansion, and at first, Dracula's polite, really well spoken, played to perfection by Christopher Lee, but once the vampire comes out, he's just a silent killer. It should be noted that the way he portrayed Dracula is very similar to what Lon Chaney Jr. did in Son of Dracula, that he did have that polite, well spoken, charming side, but this ruthless physicality to him. So, yeah, watch Son of Dracula by Universal Pictures, then watch this. You can see similarities in their performances. But eventually, Jonathan Harker gets bit by another vampire, and why he's still human, he uses the last little bit of time he has left to find the crypt. And this is where I call the one point where I gotta call stupid. He finds the two caskets. One, there's the vampire that bit him, and there's Dracula, the real evil. What does he do first? He stakes the vampire that bit him and kills her. Never mind the fact that your primary target is helpless. Only why he's doing this, Dracula wakes up and finishes turning him. Now, one interesting thing to note in the earlier stories, in the original story, Jonathan is engaged to Mina, and Arthur Homewood is engaged to Lucy. Only in this, Jonathan's engaged to Lucy, Arthur Homewood's sister, and Arthur Homewood is married to Mina. So we have the same kind of similar thing play out with Dracula slowly turning Lucy. Only we have played to perfection the perfect Van Helsing, Peter Cushing. First, he comes to the village, and like the village near Dracula's castle, they don't want nothing to do with him. The maid, she slips him Jonathan Harker's journal, and we get this thing where he's slowly trying to get Michael Goth and Mina to believe him. He ultimately gives them his journal. And it should be noted, too, if you watch the way, again, there's no way the character of Van Helsing, and more specifically Peter Cushing's take on Van Helsing, wasn't an inspiration for Dr. Loomis, because it's a similar thing. He can give these great speeches and hit the character just like the character in the book, so it comes full circle, but is there to sell how evil the villain is. And when you have an actor like Peter Cushing, it's gold, because Peter Cushing is the type of actor that no matter what film you give him, you could give him a movie about two clans of field mice going to war with nuclear weapons, and he'd still play the role like it was Oscar material. So, we get the same basic Dracula story. I'm not going to give you much because if you know the Dracula story, you know what's happening here. He kills the one girl and he slowly starts to turn the other. It should be noted my favorite piece of acting in this comes from Michael Gough's Arthur Homewood. When they find Lucy as a vampire and Peter Cushing goes to stake her, well, first he burns her forehead with a cross, and as he's staking her, Michael Gough, he's so distraught, he's holding his chest and it looks like he's killing her, it's killing him. Then when he looks at the casket, sees the burn gone and Lucy's completely at peace, you see a peace wash over him and it's like, I'm on board, I get it, we gotta do this now. And it should also be noted too, you fully see the stake go in Lucy's chest. Real shocking effect for the time, and it's funny when you watch the Hammer films now to think they were shocking. Now, we finally get to the point where a nice twist. Dracula is actually in Homewood's basement, and he's starting to turn Mina. It ultimately culminates with a chase to Dracula's castle. In a great scene with Peter Cushing and Dracula, no words between them. There's a point where Dracula almost bites Van Helsing, and he managed to get him off. And I just like this little taunt that Peter Cushing does to Dracula. He just takes his hand and just goes across his neck like that. You ain't got me yet. Then he immediately jumps on a table because he sees the sunlight, pulls the sun down, and it starts burning Dracula. He grabs two candlesticks and uses them as a cross, and we see Dracula turn to dust. Now, censors have cut parts of that feature out. It's rumored that someone in Japan found the footage and is restoring it, but whether or not that's true, I don't think we'll ever see it. It would be nice to get that footage restored and put back in the film, but it's a pipe dream at this point. Horror of Dracula, 1958. I very, very highly recommend this. It's another great classic monster film. So, what are your thoughts? Have you seen the movie? Do you want to see it? Tell me in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Over and out.